should we start the slide? I don't know. Good morning. Yeah, I'm so pleased that I actually made it. It seems that I'm running my bad luck trying to get to the big conferences when I just was last month in London at IP Expo.
Already. This is slide 3. This is
I had an accident in the car, so the driver slammed the brakes and left me with a little mark on my head. So this time I had a different kind of bad luck. So the driver in New York just couldn't take his eyes away from the map. That's everybody drives and look at the map. So the question is, why do we need a driver? If he just looks at the map, and he managed to miss a turn to the airport. And then he traveled extra 5 miles, came to the same position and made the same mistake. So it's a half an hour, which is, it's all difference between flying and not flying. So I was lucky that there was another flight, and I could be here with you here today. And I'm here with Andrei from Avast, so we're working together. And the title of our talk today is Artificial Intelligence, Threat or Opportunity? And my answer actually is yes. You may say double yes. Because it's both threat. We understand that every technology, and AI, no matter what you mean by saying AI, because I found out that when you mention AI to the group of experts, and you have 10 in the room, you'll get 15 different opinions. So personally, I prefer not artificial intelligence, but augmented intelligence. But at the end of the day, no matter what we think about A, it's I, intelligence. And it's whether human, it's a combination of human and machine, we'll find it out. But as every technology, AI brings dangers, but also opportunities. So I'm one of very few people in the world who actually faced machines on the other side. So and since this famous match, so I'm talking about human-machine collaboration. It's a 1997 match with Deep Blue, a famous match. I always want to remind people it was a rematch because I won the first one in 1996 in Philadelphia. Yeah, but if you're looking for a watershed moment in the history of man versus machine, you probably should look at this match in Philadelphia because, so I won the match, but I lost game 1. And the fact that machine could beat human world chess champion under normal tournament conditions in one game meant that the rest would be a matter of time. It was like writing on the wall. So I thought it could take longer, but it was just in 1997. And when I look at this picture, it makes me feel sad. Not because I lost the match, but because I lost all the hair. And since that match, I thought that the future would be not humans fighting the machines, because I knew that eventually that would be over. It just was a matter of time, as I said. It's in every segment of human activities. Start with chess, then you move to any other game like Go or video games like Dota or medical diagnosis. It starts with machines it's looking impossible. That's the first reaction. They will never catch up with humans. Then the machines are laughingly weak. Then for a short period of time, it's a period of competition. So, and then they are far superior forever after. So I've been advocating for human-machine collaboration, and of course, with all the opportunities and all the threats, so we just now have to see how we can handle it. And one of the obviously challenges is this massive data that we are processing now, or we're trying to process. And the question is, how can we combine human and machine intelligence to make sure that we can deal with that? And so luckily, we have an expert who can help us to go through this process, and then he'll come back to me to talk about more positive news.
Thank you, Garry. So indeed, when it comes to quantitative tasks, machine already have big edge. They win over humans. It's not only the speed at which they operate, obviously very much superhuman speed, but also the scalability. But in terms of security, we're also talking about accuracy benefit here, because the contextual information, the data that is possible to be processed these days, just gives it an edge over a human analyst. Now, talking about cybersecurity and applications of machine learning and artificial intelligence, in it, it's kind of interesting because on one hand, there are still some areas where human analyst wins. This is specifically about deep analysis of malware samples, etc., especially the high-profile attacks like target attacks, advanced persistent threat, the nation-state-sponsored espionage campaigns, etc. In these cases, human analysts really are still needed. But then, in most other areas today in security, really the machine learning and AI progress that we have seen in the last years just changed the game totally. Now, we are talking about increased speed, we are talking about increased accuracy, and also scalability here. Now, one of the common myths here with AI is that it's sort of, the success is predicated on some secret, some super advanced sort of rocket algorithms. This is not the case. It's not like someone has access to some math that companies who have the best mathematicians today win in machine learning. That's not the case. What is actually happening is that the success is predicated on two things. One is access to the computational power, which is basically universally available today in terms of cloud computing, etc. So anyone can kind of spin off a bunch of servers at Amazon or in the cloud and kind of start working. But at the same time, it is very much predicated on data. That is, today in machine learning, whoever has the richest sets of data and somehow is able to ideally label them, that is, have the experts to label them, really wins. I would say that most of the frameworks, actually, the computational kind of the algorithmic, the groundwork for today's machine learning has been laid out in the 70s and the 80s. So it's not really about the math these days. Now, talking about the data, when you look at the most successful applications of machine learning today, artificial intelligence, let's talk about image recognition, let's talk about natural speech processing, etc. These are the areas where really machine learning and AI changed the game totally. And for example, the image recognition case here, where basically the applications of it are, I mean, we are still kind of tapping, just scratching the surface of what will be possible in terms of applications of image recognition. Self-driving cars, the obvious example, and the stuff that is coming enabled by that is really exciting. But here, again, it's not about some super secret algorithms that someone invented just kind of recently, in 3 or 5 years ago. It is, again, about that massive amounts of data. So what is behind the success of image recognition these days is many years of kind of very, very mundane work of collecting tons of data and being able to somehow label them. Now, if you want to build a system that's, for example, able to recognize the image of a cat, that is, recognize cat on an image, what you needed, basically, besides the computational power to do it and to store these images, was access to many images of cat. And when I say many, I really mean many. I'm talking about hundreds of millions or billions of images of cat. And then you would feed all these images to the machine, and it would somehow learn actually what a cat looks like from all sorts of angles. And so the idea here with machine learning, and once you do that in really large quantities, then the machine actually, at the end of the day, learns how to recognize the cat on its own. And then it doesn't matter if the cat wears a hat or is photographed from the back or puts on a really funny face expression on, or it's just a cat and the algorithm is now able to tell it. Now, security today really is all about big data. And that's why I'm so incredibly excited to work for a company called Avast, because it has 400 million users around the globe that we protect every day, which is by far the most. And we have also built the world's largest security cloud. And this all realizing that if security is all about big data today, you need to have access to the freshest possible data. And so the way it works, actually, the way it's implemented is relatively simple. if you think about it, the agents that we have installed on these devices, on these hundreds of millions of devices, these are actually not only there to protect the customer, that is to provide protection of the device or of the customer, but also to act as sort of security sensors. That is, they are able to see whenever something suspicious is happening on the endpoint, on the device, and also on the internet or the network, and somehow feed the data in a real time to the massive cloud infrastructure that we have built. And this is really what kind of sets us apart from the rest. Now, what you can see here is the picture of like an operations center inside our threat labs, where we basically see everything that's happening, all the trending threads that are kind of in real time happening around the globe, the modifications, where it's coming from, et cetera, et cetera. In a way, in a metaphor, what I can say is that we see everything that's happening on the internet, like it doesn't matter where it is, because of that really big amount of sensors that we have installed and that really kind of feed the system. The danger here is that AI is not great just to defensive purposes. That is, AI is absolutely fabulous to help the security industry to somehow raise the bar in terms of our ability to protect against threats. But what's also happening today is the exact opposite. And that is, we are seeing more and more cases where the bad guys, the bad actors, are trying to use those same algorithms to actually generate attacks. That is, they are using AI to somehow provide, to raise the bar in terms of sophistication and complexity of the attacks that they are conducting. Like I was talking about advanced persistent threat, targeted attacks, spear phishing, these kind of traditionally very, very advanced, sophisticated attacks. Now, what we are seeing is these getting from the kind of top of the pyramid, really only previously targeting the highest profile targets like the nation states and the spy agencies and the largest corporations on the planet. Now we are kind of seeing them go down in the pyramid to target the mid-market companies or even individuals. And this is really enabled by automation and by using of AI on the attacking side. Because it really reduces, it kind of provides the speed, the scalability, and the accuracy benefit that I was talking about in the beginning. In a way, I would say security AI is really a double-edged sword. It can be used for good, for defensive purposes, where it really kind of allows us to do our jobs much better. But at the same time, it's a real threat when we see it started getting used by the attackers also.
So the biggest issue, of course, it's the trade-off between security and privacy. I've been writing many blogs for Avast this year, contemplating the things. Like, you have also issues like, free speech versus hate speech. But I think there's something about human nature. So we always want to pocket benefits, but we don't like liabilities. Because in this AI-controlled new world, so good news also bad news, and bad news is also good news, because we want convenience. So we want to be connected to the world through social media, but we don't want social media to learn everything about us. So we want convenience of buying things. We have Alexa and Google Home, that it's convenient, but they can listen to everything that's being spoken. So we are looking for new devices. And that's typical for humans. For the entire history of our civilization, we have been developing new tools to help us to improve our lives. We reached a point where many of the things that make our lives better, improve the quality of life, make us live longer, at the same time, they create certain problems that we have to deal with. Oh, we have to protect our data. Yeah, but how many millions of people already downloaded the face recognition for the iPhone? Hello? And I can keep going on, because the process is interactive. We keep forgetting it. It's a two-way street. So we want to be connected to the world, so the information about us will be collected by the world. So I think we should stop crying about this information being collected, because it's going to happen. we will never agree to downgrade the quality of our lives. So we will never give up these very convenient devices. So the question is, who is collecting the data? So who is watching us? And can we make sure that these abuses will not harm us in the worst possible way? Because we also should recognize the difference between data being collected by, say, Google and Facebook in the United States, or by by the similar tools in Russia or in Turkey or in China. The threats for citizens in the free world or unfree world, while information being collected, is quite different. So the point is that we have to make sure that the information that's being collected will be somehow not used to harm individuals. I understand it's tough. I understand that we definitely want to avoid us or being screened from every corner, from right, left, and the center. But that's unfortunately natural. And we just have to concentrate on making sure that this information, this massive data of information, will be protected in a way that it will not cause massive harm to all of us. The power of these tools, it keeps growing, and we cannot stop it. It's trying to slow down the process is not going to solve the problem, but could make it only worse. So that's why we could look at means and ways and tools to counter these threats by using this combination of human and machine intelligence to offer certain protection to all of us. But the basic message is that, so as we do certain things to protect our health, so it's this kind of the hygiene, so we wash hands, we clean our teeth, so many things that we could do, so elementary things, that will not kill all the threats, all the viruses, but at least they will maybe eliminate 90% of the threats. It's quite amazing that people who are just, could be so scrupulous about their health, they are totally just irresponsible with this device. It's access to your brains. So it's something that you must protect. Again, you cannot protect from all the threats, but there are many means that are available today that could offer you at least some protection against the worst viruses. So it's quite amazing. Now this is the humans can look at the machine viruses, but also we know that machines now somehow helps us to fight human viruses. So now show how Avast is fighting these massive threats.
Yeah, totally. Well, so it almost looks like we are caught amidst like a cat and mouse game in an eye today. But in reality, I mean, in our everyday lives, in the threat labs and in the company, we don't care that much about these things. Like, we see our mission as protecting people online and really kind of providing for a more secure internet. We see security as a total prerequisite for the internet and for the things that are kind of being built on top of the internet, like IoT, to work and to be widely accepted. So, we are 100% focused on protecting the users and the customers. Now, one number for all, just kind of inside our user base, we are blocking, just to give you a sense of scale, we are blocking 3.5 billion attacks in a month. 3.5 billion.
3.5 billion.
3.5 billion.
So that's, what is 3.5 billion? So anybody knows this, how many years is 1 billion seconds? Nearly 32. So that's this yes, 31.9. I calculated at one point. So it tells you that again. It's this, technology can be used for good and for bad, for good and evil. This device is agnostic. It's neither good nor bad. It's what we want to do with this device. We can make financial transactions, we can build businesses, we can find friends. Unfortunately, you can always build a very powerful terrorist network with that one. And that's about every technology. So expecting technology to offer us automatic passage to the bright future, it's to be naive and just to ignore the lessons of history. And again, there's nothing wrong about it. We should not be panicking. We should, in my view, we should simply just recognize that we are entering the brand new world. That's 3.5 billion malware attacks. And that's the final message. So here, it's for those who are crying about technology threatening our livelihood. So my answer is that the only solution to the problems caused by today's technology is tomorrow's technology. And that's what we learn from history. And let's not panic by listening all these doom and gloom predictions coming from the big names in the industry or in science. It's easy to scare off people by talking about the Terminators and the Matrix. But again, it's about us sort of making the right moves by setting the goals. Because at the end of the day, machines could be perfect tools, the most powerful machines, by solving the problems. But so far, and I think in the distant future, they will not be able to recognize what questions are relevant. So the problem of Skynet in this famous movie is probably, the people didn't know how to set up the right goals. So I'm again trying to be on the optimistic side. And I understand that machines are just being viewed as a threat, that jobs being killed. We're in the race against the machines in a fight or even at war. But that's called the history of civilization. And if you keep pushing the narrative of the problem, the narrative of the conflict of humans and machines, so we'll lose the sight of the opportunities. So as somebody who fought the machines, I came up to the conclusion you cannot beat them, join them. So that's a brand new world, and I believe that in this world, so we can definitely use our intelligence combined with the machine's brute force and machine's memories and somehow augmented intelligence, so to offer solutions to the problems that we are dealing with.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.